Let's go now live to Bonn and Levy Moveno, who's been covering the talks we just heard from there. Levy, thanks for joining us. Good morning to you. We heard you say there that action taken elsewhere is a matter of survival for Fiji. Can you tell us more about how climate change is affecting you back home?
Good morning, and first let me just say Mbula Vinaka, which is the way we greet people in Fiji. Thank you. When I say that the impact is different for all of us, I mean that here the impact of climate change might be longer seasons of each of the cold and the warm, but in Fiji it means whether we can continue to live on our land. Last night I had an interesting conversation with somebody from the German Federal Office, and I was talking to him about cemeteries of our ancestors being washed away, and he found that very shocking. So for us, that's an everyday occurrence. We have whole villages that are being washed away. We have villages that have had to relocate. We can't plant the kind of crops that we used to because the salt water is intruding into our farmlands. So for us, it really is a matter of survival for a lot of our communities, especially those who live around the coast. And in Fiji, most of us do that.
Okay, there are some serious threats that I certainly didn't know about. Thanks for filling us in on that. Now, we did hear some optimism from Fiji's president. He said that the needs of developing nations were taken into account at this conference. Do you think his optimism is justified?
I think so. I think just being here, just making the Pacific visible, just making Fijian communities visible, just bringing to the middle of the European center what Pacific impacts of climate change are is already cause to be optimistic about. Because I think that I've seen in the 2 weeks that we've been here with this program that there are a lot of us in different parts of the world that don't have a very authentic realization of what's going on elsewhere. So just being able to tell our stories, just being able to let our European friends know that, look, this is what it means to use as much coal as you do on this side of the world, is, I think, already very powerful. And last night we saw the launch of the Oceans Pathway partnership, and I think that in itself is a cause to be optimistic for a future where everyone can come to the table.
Okay, what about people back home in Fiji? Do they believe that the Paris Agreement and the details being worked out in Bonn will help address some of the problems that you filled us in on?
Yes, at home, there's a lot of skepticism about what really can happen on a global stage. But at the same time, the more that we learn about the impact of the Paris Agreement when it becomes fully operational, means that we can start to really have some substantial help in the work that we're doing to mitigate and to adapt to the impacts of climate change. I believe that the climate financing aspect of the Paris Agreement will mean that all of the exciting and innovative work that is happening back home and that we're learning from here in Europe could get some real backing and could get some real funding. I believe also that the Paris Agreement gives us the first real clear global effort to push back on climate change. And so generally there is some optimism, but when you live in a country or in a region where climate change is not a thing, but an everyday way of life, you can be a little skeptical.
Journalist Levy Moveno from Fiji. Thank you so very much, Levy, for bringing us up to date on all those developments in Fiji. Thanks so very much.
Naka.